They watch from the shadows. They walk through walls. They whisper your name when no one is there. These are not stories. These are not legends. These are the places where the veil between worlds grows thin, and you can visit them if you dare. Before we descend into these haunted realms, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Your comments fuel our investigations into the unknown. Now, dim the lights, lock your doors, and join us as we journey to the most haunted places in America that you can actually visit. America, a land built on blood and dreams, carries beneath its soil countless stories of those who refuse to leave. From the hallowed grounds of Civil War battlefields to the crumbling walls of abandoned asylums, spirits of the departed linger, trapped between worlds. These are not tales told around campfires. These are locations you can book tickets to visit, stand where history's tormented souls still wander, and perhaps experience something that will forever change your understanding of what lies beyond death. What draws us to these places of sorrow and suffering? Is it morbid curiosity? A desire to connect with something beyond our mortal existence? Or perhaps, in the deepest corners of our consciousness, we know that death is not the end, but merely a transition to another form of being. Our journey begins in the shadows of Philadelphia, where the ghosts of America's first penitentiary still serve their eternal sentences. In the heart of Philadelphia stands a Gothic fortress of decay and despair. Eastern State Penitentiary, once the most famous prison in the world, now lies in ruins, its crumbling corridors home to something far more terrifying than any criminal who walked its halls. Built in 1829, Eastern State revolutionized incarceration with its radical system of solitary confinement. Prisoners were kept in complete isolation, their faces covered when they moved through the corridors, forbidden from speaking to anyone, even guards. The theory was that solitude would lead to penitence and rehabilitation. Instead, it drove men mad. Today, visitors report unnerving encounters that defy rational explanation. Shadowy figures dart from cell to cell. Disembodied footsteps echo through empty hallways. Faces appear in the peeling paint of cell walls. But one presence stands above all others. Al Capone spent 8 months at Eastern State in 1929, convicted of carrying a concealed weapon. While other prisoners suffered in isolation, Capone enjoyed special privileges: a furnished cell with rugs, paintings, and a radio. Yet even the notorious gangster couldn't escape the prison's spectral inhabitants. Guards reported hearing Capone screaming in his cell, begging for an unseen tormentor to leave him alone. "I'm being haunted by the ghost of Jimmy Clark," he allegedly claimed, referring to a rival gangster he had ordered killed years earlier. To this day, visitors to Capone's cell report hearing faint banjo music, Capone's favorite instrument, when no one is present. But what if the truth is darker than anyone imagined? What if the spirits of Eastern State aren't merely the ghosts of prisoners who died within its walls? What if the prison itself, designed to break the human spirit through isolation, became a living entity that feeds on suffering? Paranormal investigators have captured electronic voice phenomena throughout the penitentiary. Disembodied voices whispering threats, weeping, and even calling out visitors' names. Thermal imaging has revealed human-shaped heat signatures in empty cells. Shadow figures, darker than any natural darkness, have been photographed moving through the corridors. The most disturbing accounts come from former guards who worked at the prison before it closed in 1971. They speak of a pervasive feeling of being watched, of cold spots that would appear suddenly and move against air currents, of cell doors slamming shut with impossible force. Eastern State Penitentiary offers tours year-round, including special nighttime paranormal investigations. But be warned, many who enter leave with more than they bargained for. carrying home an unseen passenger who attached itself to them in the darkness. From the cold stone of a northern prison, we travel south to the sultry heat of Louisiana, where a beautiful antebellum plantation hides a history of blood and betrayal. The Myrtles Plantation, built in 1796, has been called one of America's most haunted homes, with as many as 10 murders confirmed on the property and spirits who refuse to leave. The most famous ghost is Chloe, a slave who allegedly had an affair with the plantation owner, Clark Woodruff. When caught, Woodruff had Chloe's ear cut off as punishment. Seeking revenge, Chloe baked a birthday cake containing oleander leaves, a poison for Woodruff's eldest daughter. But her plan went horribly wrong. Woodruff's wife and 2 of their children died from the poison, and Chloe was lynched by other slaves who feared Woodruff's wrath. Today, visitors to the Myrtles report seeing a woman in a green turban, Chloe's signature head covering to hide her disfigurement, peering through windows. Some have captured her image in photographs, appearing as a shadowy figure between 2 buildings on the property. But Chloe is far from the only spirit who walks the Myrtles halls. The ghost of William Winter, an attorney who lived at the plantation in the late 1800s, is said to still pace the veranda where he was shot by a stranger. Visitors report hearing his footsteps climbing the 17 steps to the porch before stopping abruptly, exactly where he collapsed and died in his wife's arms. The grand piano in the parlor plays by itself, often a single chord that resonates through the house. Children's laughter echoes from empty rooms. Mirrors in the home are said to capture spirits, with visitors reporting seeing faces appear and disappear in the reflection. What makes the Myrtles particularly unsettling is that it operates as a bed and breakfast. You can book a room, sleep in the same spaces where these tragedies unfolded, and perhaps experience something that blurs the line between past and present. But what if the stories we know are merely the surface? What if deeper, darker secrets lie buried beneath the Spanish moss and magnolia trees? Local legends speak of a Native American burial ground on the property, disturbed when the plantation was built. Some believe this desecration opened a portal that allows spirits to cross between worlds. The Myrtles Plantation offers daily tours and overnight accommodations, but those who have stayed overnight report more than just ghostly encounters. They speak of dreams that feel more like memories, of waking with unexplained marks on their bodies, of feeling an unseen presence lying beside them in bed. Nestled in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, the Stanley Hotel stands as an elegant testament to Gilded Age luxury. But behind its grand facade lies a history of paranormal activity so profound it inspired one of the most terrifying novels of all time. In 1974, Stephen King and his wife Tabitha spent a night at the Stanley, arriving just before the hotel closed for the winter season. They were the only guests. That night, King dreamt of his young son running through the corridors, screaming as he was chased by a supernatural entity. This nightmare became the foundation for The Shining, and the Stanley Hotel became forever linked with terror. But the hotel's ghostly inhabitants predate King's visit by decades. Freeland Oscar Stanley, co-inventor of the Stanley Steamer automobile, built the hotel in 1909 after being diagnosed with tuberculosis and told he had months to live. He believed the mountain air would cure him, and he was right, living until 1940. Today, Stanley and his wife Flora are said to still watch over their beloved hotel. Staff report seeing Mr. Stanley's apparition in the lobby and billiard room, while Mrs. Stanley's piano playing often echoes through the ballroom late at night. The 4th floor, once the servants' quarters, is particularly active. Housekeeping staff report hearing children running and playing when no children are present. Room 418 is said to be haunted by a cowboy who stands in the corner, sometimes appearing so solid that guests have tried to speak with him before he vanishes. The most famous ghostly residents are the children of Paul and Carrie Wilson, who were the hotel's first long-term guests. Their spirits still play in the hallways, with visitors reporting hearing laughter and the sound of bouncing balls. But what if the hotel's paranormal activity isn't just residual energy from past events? What if something in the very structure of the building attracts and traps spirits? Paranormal investigators have detected electromagnetic fields that fluctuate without explanation, cold spots that appear and disappear, and doors that open and close on their own. The Stanley Hotel embraces its haunted reputation, offering paranormal tours, ghost hunts, and even a special shining package that includes a bottle of red rum wine. But some guests report experiences that go beyond friendly, ghostly encounters. They speak of being touched by unseen hands, of feeling an oppressive presence in certain rooms, of waking to find their furniture rearranged. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Stanley Hotel is how the paranormal activity seems to evolve. New spirits appear regularly, suggesting that the hotel acts as a kind of supernatural magnet, drawing in restless souls from the surrounding mountains. From the mountains to the sea, we journey to Long Beach, California, where a retired ocean liner has become one of America's most haunted destinations. The Queen Mary, which served as a luxury cruise ship and military transport during its 40-year career, is now permanently docked, but its passengers never fully disembarked. During World War II, the ship was painted gray and nicknamed the Gray Ghost as it transported Allied troops. It was in this capacity that the Queen Mary experienced its most tragic event. On October 2, 1942, while carrying over 10,000 Allied soldiers, the Queen Mary accidentally sliced through its escort ship, HMS Curacoa. 239 sailors died, and the Queen Mary, under orders not to stop due to the threat of U-boats, continued on its course. Today, visitors report seeing wet footprints appearing on the carpet around the first-class swimming pool, even though the pool has been drained for decades. Women in 1930s bathing suits are said to appear and disappear around the pool area, while the sounds of splashing water echo through the empty space. The most haunted area of the ship is the engine room, where an 18-year-old sailor named John Petter was crushed to death by a watertight door during a fire drill in 1966. Visitors report seeing a young man in period clothing walking through the engine room before vanishing near door number 13. Some have even claimed to feel the door slam shut behind them, though it remains bolted open. Stateroom B340 is considered so haunted that the hotel no longer rents it out. Guests who stayed there reported covers being pulled off the bed, faucets turning on by themselves, and the figure of a man standing at the foot of the bed. The room has been renovated multiple times to stop the paranormal activity, but nothing works. But what if these individual ghost stories are merely symptoms of something larger? What if the Queen Mary itself has become a supernatural ecosystem, a floating world between worlds where spirits from different eras coexist? Paranormal investigators have documented hundreds of unexplained phenomena aboard the ship. Disembodied voices speaking multiple languages are captured on recordings. Shadow figures are seen walking through walls. Children's laughter echoes from empty corridors. The ship's bell rings on its own. What makes the Queen Mary particularly fascinating is how the paranormal activity seems to follow patterns that mirror the ship's history. The areas that saw the most tragedy during its operational years are the most active today. It's as if the emotional energy of those who lived and died aboard the vessel has imprinted itself on the very steel of the ship. The Queen Mary offers paranormal tours and overnight stays in its converted staterooms. But be warned, many guests report taking home an unseen souvenir, with strange occurrences following them long after they've disembarked. In the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, where 51,000 soldiers became casualties in 3 days of fighting, the past never truly dies. Gettysburg Battlefield, site of the bloodiest battle of the Civil War, is renowned for its paranormal activity, with visitors reporting encounters that blur the line between historical reenactment and supernatural manifestation. The Battle of Gettysburg, fought from July 3, 1863, marked a turning point in the Civil War. But the victory came at a terrible cost. The fields, woods, and hills around the small Pennsylvania town became a slaughterhouse where Americans killed Americans in unprecedented numbers. Today, visitors to Gettysburg National Military Park report experiences that go beyond historical imagination. They speak of hearing the sounds of battle, cannon fire, screams, the commands of officers, on days when no reenactments are scheduled. They see apparitions of soldiers moving across the fields, sometimes so solid that they're mistaken for living reenactors until they vanish. Devil's Den, a rocky outcropping that saw fierce fighting, is particularly active. Visitors report being approached by a barefoot man in a floppy hat who asks, "What are you looking for?" before disappearing. Photographs taken at Devil's Den often show mysterious figures that weren't visible to the naked eye. Little Round Top, another strategic location during the battle, is said to be haunted by the spirits of the 20th Maine Volunteer Infantry Regiment. Visitors report smelling gunpowder and hearing the sounds of fighting long after the sun has set. Some have even reported feeling an unseen hand push them away from dangerous areas along the rocky summit. The sacks-covered bridge, used by both armies during the battle, is said to be visited by the ghosts of 3 Confederate soldiers who were hanged there. Visitors report seeing their apparitions hanging from the rafters and hearing their disembodied cries. But what if these ghostly encounters are more than just residual energy from a tragic event? What if Gettysburg has become a permanent wound in the fabric of our reality, a place where the veil between worlds is perpetually thin? Paranormal investigators have captured electronic voice phenomena at Gettysburg that include soldiers calling out their names, units, and even their final words. Thermal imaging has revealed heat signatures of human figures in areas where no one is present. Some investigators believe that the sheer scale of death and suffering at Gettysburg created a permanent supernatural imprint that continues to replay the battle. What makes Gettysburg particularly haunting is how the paranormal activity seems to follow historical patterns. The areas that saw the intense fighting are the most active today. It's as if the emotional energy of those who fought and died there has created a kind of supernatural recording that plays on a loop, visible and audible to those sensitive enough to perceive it. Gettysburg offers guided tours, and you can walk the battlefield at your own pace. But be warned, many who visit leave with more than historical knowledge. They carry home the feeling that somewhere, somehow, the battle never truly ended. In the quiet town of Fall River, Massachusetts, stands a modest Greek revival house where one of America's most infamous murders took place. On August 4, 1892, Andrew Borden and his wife Abby were brutally hacked to death with a hatchet. Their daughter Lizzie was tried for the murders but acquitted, though public opinion remained divided on her guilt. Today, the Lizzie Borden House operates as a bed and breakfast and museum, offering visitors the chance to sleep in the very rooms where the murders occurred. And according to guests and staff, the Bordens never truly left. The most active areas of the house are the rooms where the murders took place. Andrew Borden was killed while napping on a sofa in the downstairs sitting room. Guests who sleep in this room report hearing heavy breathing, feeling a presence watching them, and even seeing a man's reflection in the mirror, who vanishes when they turn around. Abby Borden was killed in the upstairs guest room. Guests who stay in this room report smelling rosewater, Abby's favorite scent, when none is present. Some have awakened to find the covers pulled off their bed, as if someone is checking to see who is sleeping there. But the Bordens aren't the only spirits said to haunt the house. Lizzie herself is said to still wander the halls, with visitors reporting seeing a woman in Victorian clothing who disappears when approached. Some believe she's searching for something she lost, while others think she's trying to communicate her side of the story. The house's basement, where Lizzie allegedly burned the dress she wore on the day of the murders, is particularly unsettling. Visitors report feeling an oppressive presence, hearing whispers and feeling sudden drops in temperature. But what if the truth about the Borden murders is darker than anyone imagined? What if Lizzie's acquittal wasn't a miscarriage of justice, but a cover-up of something far more sinister? Some paranormal investigators believe that the house is haunted not just by the victims, but by the truth of what really happened that day. Guests at the Lizzie Borden House have reported a wide range of paranormal phenomena. Doors open and close on their own. Objects move from where they were placed. Children's laughter is heard when no children are present. Some have even captured images of figures standing in doorways or looking out windows. What makes the Lizzie Borden House particularly haunting is how the paranormal activity seems to reenact the events of that fateful day. Visitors report hearing arguments, footsteps running up and down stairs, and even the sound of a body falling. It's as if the emotional energy of that day has imprinted itself on the house, replaying the tragedy for those sensitive enough to perceive it. The Lizzie Borden House offers tours and overnight stays. But be warned, many who sleep there leave with more than just a story to tell. They carry home the feeling that they've touched something dark and unresolved, a mystery that continues to haunt the living as much as the dead. In San Jose, California, stands a house like no other. A labyrinth of staircases that lead to nowhere, doors that open to blank walls and windows that look into other rooms. This is the Winchester Mystery House, a 160-room Victorian mansion built by Sarah Winchester, widow of the rifle magnate, who believed she was haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles. After the death of her husband and infant daughter, Sarah consulted a medium who told her that she was haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles. The medium advised her to move west and build a house for the spirits, and to never stop building, or she would die. For 38 years, from 1886 until her death in 1922, construction on the house continued 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Today, the Winchester Mystery House stands as a testament to one woman's obsession with the supernatural. But according to visitors and staff, Sarah's efforts to appease the spirits may have inadvertently created a supernatural magnet that continues to draw them in. The most commonly reported spirit is Sarah Winchester herself, who is said to still wander the halls of her strange mansion. Visitors report seeing a woman in Victorian clothing who disappears when approached. Some have even captured her image in photographs, appearing as a shadowy figure in the background. But Sarah isn't the only spirit said to haunt the house. Visitors report hearing footsteps in empty hallways, doors opening and closing on their own, and cold spots that appear and disappear. Some have even reported feeling an unseen presence touch them or push them gently. The seance room, where Sarah supposedly communicated with the spirits, is particularly active. Visitors report feeling an oppressive presence, hearing whispers, and seeing objects move on their own. Some have even reported feeling dizzy or disoriented in this room, as if the energy is too overwhelming. But what if Sarah Winchester wasn't just trying to appease spirits? What if she was trying to create something more, a physical manifestation of the supernatural world, a house that exists between dimensions? Some paranormal investigators believe that the constant construction, with its confusing layout and architectural oddities, may have created a kind of supernatural labyrinth that traps spirits. The Winchester Mystery House offers daily tours, including special flashlight tours that explore the mansion after dark. But be warned, many who visit leave with more than just a sense of wonder. They carry home the feeling that they've stepped into a place where the normal rules of reality don't apply, where the past and present coexist in a strange and unsettling dance. In Weston, West Virginia, stands a massive Gothic building that once housed thousands of mentally ill patients. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, operational from 1864 to 1994, has a dark history of patient abuse, overcrowding, and tragic deaths. Today, it stands abandoned, but according to those who visited, it's far from empty. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was designed to house 250 patients, but at its peak in the 1950s, it housed over 2,400. Conditions were deplorable, with patients subjected to brutal treatments, including lobotomies, electroshock therapy, and restraints. Many died from neglect, abuse, or suicide. Today, the asylum offers tours and paranormal investigations, and visitors report a wide range of unexplained phenomena. The most commonly reported spirits are former patients who still wander the halls, their tormented souls trapped within the asylum's walls. The fourth floor, which housed the most violent patients, is particularly active. Visitors report hearing screams, cries, and disembodied voices. Some have even reported seeing shadowy figures darting from room to room, as if still trying to escape their confinement. The medical wing, where brutal treatments were performed, is said to be haunted by the spirits of patients who died during procedures. Visitors report hearing the sounds of medical equipment, feeling sudden drops in temperature, and even smelling antiseptic when none is present. But what if the asylum's paranormal activity isn't just the residual energy of past events? What if the building itself has become a supernatural entity, feeding on the suffering of those who lived and died within its walls? Some paranormal investigators believe that the sheer scale of trauma and despair within the asylum has created a kind of supernatural imprint that continues to attract and trap spirits. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum offers a variety of tours, including paranormal investigations that allow visitors to spend the night in the abandoned building. But be warned, many who participate in these investigations report more than just ghostly encounters. They speak of feeling an oppressive presence that seems to follow them home, of experiencing nightmares that feel more like memories, of feeling an unseen presence with them long after they've left the asylum. What makes the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum particularly haunting is how the paranormal activity seems to reflect the suffering that occurred within its walls. The areas where the most brutal treatments were performed are the most active today. It's as if the emotional energy of those who suffered there has created a permanent supernatural scar on the building, a wound that continues to bleed into our world. In St. Augustine, Florida, America's oldest city, stands a lighthouse that has guided ships to shore since 1874. But according to legend, the St. Augustine Lighthouse also guides spirits between worlds, with numerous reports of paranormal activity from visitors and staff. The lighthouse has a tragic history. During its construction, the daughters of the superintendent, Hezekiah Pittee, drowned when the cart they were playing in fell into the ocean. Today, their spirits are said to still haunt the lighthouse and surrounding grounds. Visitors report hearing children's laughter and the sound of running footsteps when no children are present. Some have even reported seeing the apparitions of two girls in Victorian clothing playing on the grounds before vanishing. The lighthouse itself is said to be haunted by the spirit of a former keeper who fell to his death while painting the tower. Visitors report seeing his apparition on the spiral staircase. sometimes so solid that they try to speak with him before he disappears. The keeper's house, now a museum, is also reportedly haunted. Staff report objects moving on their own, doors opening and closing, and the sound of footsteps when no one is present. Some have even reported feeling an unseen presence touch them or whisper in their ear. But what if the lighthouse's paranormal activity isn't just the spirits of those who died there? What if the lighthouse itself, with its powerful beam cutting through the darkness, acts as a kind of supernatural beacon, attracting spirits from the surrounding area? Some paranormal investigators believe that the lighthouse's electromagnetic field may create a portal that allows spirits to cross between worlds. The St. Augustine Lighthouse offers tours, including special paranormal investigations that allow visitors to explore the lighthouse and grounds after dark. But be warned, many who participate in these investigations report more than just ghostly encounters. They speak of feeling an unseen presence follow them up the spiral staircase, of hearing whispers that seem to come from the walls themselves, of feeling a strange energy that seems to emanate from the lighthouse itself. What makes the St. Augustine Lighthouse particularly haunting is how the paranormal activity seems to follow the patterns of the lighthouse's operation. The areas that were most frequented by the keepers are the most active today. It's as if the emotional energy of those who lived and worked there has created a permanent, supernatural imprint that continues to operate long after the light was automated. In Amityville, New York, stands a house that became the center of one of America's most controversial haunting stories. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot and killed 6 members of his family in the house. A year later, George and Kathy Lutz moved in with their 3 children, only to flee 28 days later, claiming they were terrorized by supernatural forces. The Lutz family's experiences became the basis for the book The Amityville Horror and numerous films. But what really happened in that house on Ocean Avenue? And does the evil that allegedly drove Ronald DeFeo to murder still linger today? According to the Lutz family, they experienced a wide range of paranormal phenomena during their 28 days in the house. They reported hearing voices, seeing apparitions, feeling cold spots, and even suffering physical attacks from unseen forces. They claimed that the house was built on an ancient Native American burial ground, and that a demonic presence had possessed Ronald DeFeo and was now trying to possess George. Today, the house has been renovated, and its address changed to Dieter Curiosity Seekers. But according to subsequent owners and paranormal investigators, the paranormal activity continues. The most commonly reported phenomena are disembodied voices, footsteps, and the sound of gunshots. Some have reported seeing apparitions in the windows, even when the house is empty. Others have reported feeling an oppressive presence that seems to emanate from the house itself. But what if the Amityville haunting isn't just about the house? What if it's about the land itself, about something ancient and dark that was disturbed long before the house was built? Some paranormal investigators believe that the house sits on a nexus of negative energy, a place where the veil between worlds is particularly thin. The Amityville house is a private residence and cannot be visited, but you can drive by and see the exterior. But be warned, many who have visited the area report feeling an unsettling energy, a sense of being watched that seems to follow them long after they've left. What makes the Amityville haunting particularly disturbing is how it blurs the line between fact and fiction. While the Lutz family's claims have been disputed and even exposed as potentially fraudulent, the tragedy of the DeFeo murders is undeniable. And whether you believe in ghosts or not, the idea that a place can retain the memory of such violence is deeply unsettling. As we've journeyed across America, from prisons to plantations, from hotels to haunted houses, a pattern emerges. These aren't just random ghost stories. They're locations where intense human emotion, suffering, fear, love, hatred, has imprinted itself on the physical environment, creating a kind of supernatural scar that continues to bleed into our world. But what if the truth is darker than anyone imagined? What if these hauntings aren't just the spirits of the dead lingering in places they once knew? What if there's something more, something that challenges our understanding of reality itself? Consider the common threads that connect these locations. They're places where boundaries were crossed, between life and death, between sanity and madness, between the natural and the supernatural. They're places where the normal rules of our world seem to break down, where the impossible becomes possible. What if these locations are portals, doorways between worlds that allow something to cross over into our reality? And what if that something isn't just the spirits of the dead, but entities that have never been human at all? The most disturbing accounts from these locations suggest something beyond simple ghostly encounters. They speak of shadow figures that move with impossible speed, of disembodied voices that speak in languages no one recognizes, of physical attacks by unseen forces. They speak of feeling an oppressive presence that seems to feed on fear, of experiencing time distortions and reality shifts. Perhaps the most terrifying revelation is that these locations are accessible to anyone. You can book a room at the Stanley Hotel, take a tour of Eastern State Penitentiary, spend the night at the Myrtles Plantation. You can stand in the very spaces where these supernatural events occur. Open yourself to whatever resides there. And what happens when you do? What happens when you cross that threshold, when you allow yourself to become part of the story? Many who've visited these locations report changes in themselves afterward. Increased sensitivity to the supernatural, unexplained occurrences in their own homes, even physical and psychological symptoms they can't explain. What if these locations don't just allow us to observe the supernatural? What if they allow the supernatural to observe us, to interact with us, to follow us home? What if the real horror isn't what happens in these haunted places, but what you bring back with you when you leave? The most chilling accounts come from paranormal investigators who've spent significant time in these locations. They speak of a gradual erosion of the boundaries between our world and whatever lies beyond. They speak of feeling themselves changing, of becoming more sensitive to supernatural phenomena, of experiencing things that defy rational explanation. Perhaps the most terrifying possibility is that these locations are just the beginning. Perhaps they're points of entry for something that's slowly seeping into our world, something that's been waiting for the right moment to make itself known. And perhaps by visiting these places, by opening ourselves to the supernatural, we're accelerating that process. As our journey through America's most haunted places comes to an end, we're left with more questions than answers. Are these locations truly haunted by the spirits of the dead? Or are they something more? Something that challenges our understanding of reality itself? What we do know is that these places exist, that they're accessible to anyone who dares to visit, and that something unexplained happens within their walls. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the sheer volume of eyewitness accounts, photographs, recordings, and physical evidence suggests that there's something happening that science cannot explain. Perhaps the most profound revelation is that these haunted places serve as mirrors, reflecting our own beliefs, fears, and desires back at us. What we experience in these locations may say less about what's actually there and more about what we bring with us. Our openness to the supernatural, our fascination with the unknown, our deep-seated belief that death is not the end. In the end, the question isn't whether these places are truly haunted. The question is whether we're willing to open ourselves to the possibility that there's more to this world than what our senses can perceive. The question is whether we're ready to confront the possibility that the dead don't always rest in peace, that some places retain the memory of tragedy, that the veil between worlds can grow thin. As you consider visiting these locations, ask yourself what you're truly seeking. Are you looking for thrills and chills? Or are you searching for something more, a glimpse into a world beyond our own, a confirmation that there's something beyond this life? And if you find what you're looking for, if you experience something that defies explanation, will you be prepared for the consequences? Will you be ready to live with the knowledge that the world is not what it seems, that there are things that go bump in the night, that some doors, once opened, can never be fully closed? The veil between worlds grows thin in these places, allowing us to glimpse what lies beyond. But remember, every door opens both ways. As you seek to peer into their world, something may be looking back into yours. Join us next time as we continue to explore the mysteries that lurk in the shadows of our world. Until then, ask yourself, what waits in the darkness? And what happens when it finds you?